like a word with you. Want to take a drive? I prefer to run, actually. That's kind of the point. I never got that. Come on, this won't take long, and we can't do it at the office. They'd been tracking a group of Chinese bankers suspected of plotting a cyber attack on the New York Stock Exchange. There were also the anti-secrecy hackers who kept publishing classified documents online. And, of course, there were any of a dozen hotspots being closely monitored in the Middle East. There was always shit flaring up in the Middle East. She made a silent bet that this was about a new intercept from a target there. But what couldn't be discussed at the office? As they approached the SUV, the driver got out and came around to open the rear passenger side door. "Can you turn that off?" Lionel asked, holding out his palm. Kera looked at her smartphone, which was still playing the BBC podcast. She lowered it down and handed it over to him. Then she climbed into the vehicle. There was a woman seated opposite her in the back seat. "Good morning, Kera. I'm Gabrielle De Palma." "I know who you are, ma'am. It's an honor." Kera had not seen the Directorate of Intelligence's deputy director this close before in person. De Palma had collar-length blonde-white hair that shot back from her forehead. Shallow tributaries of wrinkles at the corners of her eyes and mouth were visible in the low light coming through the tinted windows. De Palma was thin, bony even, and an inch or two taller than Kera. She wore a blazer with a silk blouse and skirt. The whole ensemble came together with a commanding elegance that made Kera self-conscious of her own sweaty running clothes. She felt even worse when she remembered that she dashed out the door without brushing her teeth. "Lionel tells me you've come up under him in CSAA," De Palma said, referring to the agency's Office of Collection Strategies and Analysis. Kera nodded and glanced quickly at Lionel, who had climbed into the front passenger seat. The driver, Kera noted, remained outside. De Palma switched on a tablet and pushed it across the seat toward her. "I'm going to offer you a job, Kera. But before I do, I need you to agree to keep this conversation between us. Please sign and fingerprint this NDA after you've read it carefully." Kera moved her eyes over every word of the agreement, but she was too distracted to absorb more than a quarter of them. Using a finger, she scrawled her signature on the touchscreen, and then pressed the flat tip of it to the print scanner at the bottom of the display. "Thank you," De Palma said, as she tucked away the tablet. "As you know, the new frontier in our field is all-source data mining. The problem we've run into at the agency is not our technology. We've got that. We're ahead of the curve, even. As a result, though, we're absolutely buried under mountains of signals intelligence data that is piling up in servers much faster than we can make any sense of it. It will take a decade to address these problems institutionally, and that makes us vulnerable. Very much not ahead of the curve." Kera tried to appear as if she were listening patiently, but she couldn't guess why she'd been pulled off the street so the DI's deputy director could tell her what she already knew. De Palma paused as if reading Kera's mind. "I'll be direct. I've been cleared to field an elite team for a black op code-named Hawk to operate a more flexible and efficient cyber intelligence platform. I want you on that team." Kera looked to the front seat to gauge Lionel's reaction. His expression gave her nothing. Hold on. I haven't given you the most difficult thing you need to consider before making your decision. The mission of Hawk is to master information, to gather it at its source, to analyze it, and to act upon it at the precise time it is needed. The scope of this work may extend into areas many of our citizens and lawmakers would consider unacceptable. As a result, most of our missions will require us to operate completely off the books. That means we have to get all of the personnel for Hawk out of the agency. The team will be structured like a private contractor. Is that merely a technicality, or are you asking me to leave the agency? Kera looked again to Lionel. There was no way he approved of this. She'd only ever heard him curse agency people who defected to the private sector. His eyes urged her to keep listening. "Both. It's a technicality, but it has real consequences.